We're going to have a fun one today. Tons of news flowing. And I want to remind everyone that you can also get some news a couple times a week from the brand new GM territory. I know we introed it yesterday with Jim Bowden and his son Trey. I was listening to it this morning. It's great. And the logo is epic. Yeah. Whit Merrifield pointed out how the behind-the-scenes team coming up with the quarter zip inside the M is a work of art. And I feel like you'd appreciate that, AJ.
Duh.
Yeah.
I mean, standard issue GM material, quarter zip on every team. And every color, every shape, size, but all.
Not Jim.
Zips.
Not Jim.
No.
Well, Jim's
maybe when
that's
he was
what's ironic
GM.
about it. Yeah.
Jim's not a GM. Check out the picture of Jim that we always post when he's on there. He's standing on the cage in a quarter zip.
Mm-hmm.
Before quarter zips were cool. Now kids go to like Ross or TJ Maxx just to find 2 quarter zips that match each other to clown people that wear quarter zips.
Wow.
Quarter zips are the best. They're the sundress for men because you can wear them if you need a collared shirt. You can wear them if you're nice, right? If you go to a place that requires a collared shirt, you put a quarter zip on, it has a collar. You can fold it and be like, this is a collared shirt. But then if you want to go work out, you also have the quarter zip and you have like a crappy one, you can sweat in it a little bit. And then if you want to go somewhere really nice, you throw the quarter zip over your nice button-up shirt. It kind of goes with everything in every situation. You can wear them with shorts, you can wear them with pants, wear them when it's cold, wear them when it's hot.
You're an outfit man. I have to do something where I was told to dress casual for a presentation of something this weekend. Can I wear my quarter zip?
Yes.
Jeans and a quarter zip?
Yes, that's business casual, but it takes it up another notch over just like jeans and like a golf shirt because it's long sleeve.
What about Hey Dudes? Can I wear Hey Dudes or do I need to wear like some nice...
I don't even know what Hey Dudes are. I don't even know what Hey Dudes are.
Sounds like a future sponsor alert.
Sounds like what I wipe my butt with.
Oh, well, that's coming up at the end of the show, the ultimate tease. But let's charge right now because we have a ton to get to.
He's charging the mound.
They had been pursuing him since November, and in early February, the Seattle Mariners get their guy, Brendan Donovan. Come on down. Little third base, maybe lead off, left-handed hitter, on-base machine. AJ, I think this is a massive move for the Mariners. That was a must for them to feel satisfied this offseason. You?
Yeah, he fits perfect in their lineup. He's left-handed, right? He plays second base. He gets on base for them. They lost Polanco. They lost Suarez. This is a great fit. And they gave up, a couple of their prospects. So what? Brendan Donovan's a proven guy. He's been to the All-Star game. You know he's going to hit. You know what he's going to give you. So I love this move for Seattle. And why does Tampa Bay always get involved in 3-team trades? Like Tampa Bay is always the team you call and they're like, hey, will you just throw in somebody so we'll give you a random prospect? Tampa's is like, sure, we got nothing else happening. We haven't done something for a while. We'll be the third team in a trade.
They're like, yep, you need a pick and a prospect. We've got one for you. Oh, you've got Ben Williamson, who we can bounce all around the diamond. Yes, please. There's the full trade. We're going to learn about the prospect package soon from J.J. Cooper, and Ken Rosenthal is going to break down some sides of this trade as well. But yes, Ben Williamson did play this past season at third for the Mariners. Looks like he could be a really good defender. The Rays have already talked about playing him at third, short, second, some platoon action. The bat might be a little bit light to be a full-time third baseman. He also just got to the league, so let's give him a time to breathe. But wait, back to the Mariners for a moment, Kratz. And AJ, just for clarification, I think Donovan's going to play mostly third. I know he can bounce around, but if Cole Young plays well, then Donovan can play third for them. Second base is probably his most natural spot, but he's got the ability to swing around.
Yeah, he's played mostly second base in his career, though.
Yeah. No, that's true. But so I'll paint one of the lineups for you from Fangraphs against righties. Donovan leading off third. Then you've got Cal, Julio, Naylor, Randy Rosarena, Dom Canzone, who's the guy against right-handed pitchers and usually sits against lefties, J.P. Crawford, Victor Robles, Cole Young. Nice balance. What do you think, Kratz?
Did you say Julio? I'm not looking at the image that you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
Julio 3.
I like it.
Julio, Naylor 2, 3, 4.
Before Donovan, I would agree they would have been one short. With Donovan, to me, whether it's like AJ said, he plays second, which is where he's played the most, or he plays third, they have Colt Emerson and they have Cole Young. Seems like they're going to give Cole Young that opportunity first. But this is when I have problems with teams who are like, yep, this is the guy. He's going to go play. He's going to be the future of our team at third base. It's so tough for prospects to hit right away when they come up. This Brendan Donovan trade allows them to say, okay, you're playing third because today we see Cole Young being here, and he's better for our team at second base. Cole Young makes the team. It doesn't work out well. Colt Emerson, who has only crushed it in the minor leagues, continues to crush it in the bushes. Maybe there's a shift if Cole Young is there. It's such a great problem to have, and I think the Mariners have done an incredible job of giving themselves more depth than they ever have, and they are not sitting on their hands with this team that was on the precipice of making the World Series last year.
What about the rest of the package? So we'll talk about the Cardinals racking up picks. I mean, they have a ton of picks coming up in the 2026 draft. 6 of the top 86. I have them. They acquired 2 picks. Chaim Bloom has been able to unload AJ Sonny Gray.
But he's got prospects too. Don't forget in this trade.
He does.
He got what, 3 prospects in this trade? Sinchi, what's his name? I don't know how to say it.
I'm actually going to help you out with that. Can we throw to JJ Cooper to help learn about what the return package is, and then we can hear how he pronounces it.
So we have a 3-team deal. Not surprisingly, involves Seattle and Tampa Bay, 2 of the teams that are most willing to trade. But we're just going to look at the prospects on this portion here. So what did the Cardinals get back prospect-wise? I would say that they got a number of kind of intriguing pieces, all of whom kind of aren't perfect prospects, but all have kind of characteristics that you could be really interested in. The top prospect that came back is clearly Jurrangelo Cijntje. You could call him the switch pitcher, although predominantly a right-handed pitcher. He does throw left-handed as well. He can throw lefty in games, but predominantly a right-hander who, if he's going to start, is going to be a right-handed starter who always has the ability to flip over and throw a lefty slider in a tough matchup at times. But he's an intriguing starting pitching prospect who has is not that far away, but at the same time also hasn't kind of put everything together yet. He's not a top 100 prospect for us, but he's not that far off the top 100. He's kind of on that cusp of the top 100. He's the primary prospect I would say that they got back, but you also need to keep an eye on Ty Pete, who also came back from the Mariners. We had Cijntje ranked as number 7 on our Mariners top 30, and we had Pete ranked 10th on our Mariners top 30. Pete has a lot of athleticism, a lot of tools, showed some power last year, but there's also a lot of swing and miss. Is an outfielder who, if everything clicks, could really be an everyday regular, but at the same time, with the strikeout rate he has, there's no sure bet that that everything's going to click or that he could even be a big leaguer. He's going to have to make some improvements. And then from the Rays comes over Colton Ledbetter, who is a kind of the antithesis in some ways of Pete. If Pete is really flashy tools, Ledbetter's more of kind of a whole lot of solid tools and skills. There's not a whole lot of power here, although he hits the ball harder than his home run numbers will kind of give you evidence of. He's played center and right field. The Rays kind of viewed him as a right fielder. Maybe the Mariners see if he can play center. Maybe they can improve his defense because he has some athleticism. He's also a pretty successful base stealer. He was not on the Rays top 30, but that Rays top 30 is very deep. And you don't want to forget about maybe one of the key things here that is definitely worth paying attention to is also the 2 compensatory picks. They're competitive pounds PB picks, which means they go after the second round, 68th and 72nd picks. But those are not just 2 picks. That's going to be another $2.5 million or so in bonus pool allotment that will allow the Cardinals to spend more than almost anybody in the draft in 2026. So that's the prospect return in the 3-team Cardinals-Mariners-Rays trade.
Chaim Bloom getting the job done, AJ. He did everything he needed to do in terms of the rebuild so far and offloading all of these veteran players to get nice return packages.
Yeah, was it Cijntje?
Jurrangelo Cijntje.
So two things about him. One, that I just saw where before this trade, the Mariners said he was only going to pitch right-handed. So the switch pitcher thing is not the thing. And then also I remember my son's team went and played in a tournament and his team was there and all the scouts were there to see him throw with both arms. And the coach is like, yeah, he's not going to pitch in this tournament. And the scouts were like, well, we only came to see him. The scouts like, we don't care. He's not pitching. And so the scouts all left. It was kind of funny. But because they wanted to see a guy that could throw 90 with both hands. And now he's only a right-handed pitcher. But this is kind of what the Cardinals need to do. It restocks their farm system. They get rid of one of their better assets. They get players. Heimblum did this in Boston too. Let's not forget when he had to trade Mookie Betts and redo that whole thing. Heimblum came from the Rays. He knows how to develop organizations. He knows how to develop talent. He knows how to build talent inside an organization. So for the Cardinals, yes, it's going to suck for a few years. This is a win. For the Mariners, absolutely this is a win for right now because they're trying to win right now. Keep up with the Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox, and the rest of the teams in the American League. And then for the Rays never seem to miss on a trade. So, yeah, it's a win for all. This is one of those trades that seems like it help all three teams.
This was a good stare down, too. Let's bring in FT senior insider Ken Rosenthal. So it appeared as if, Ken, the Giants signing Luis Arraez might have helped to push this one across the finish line that began in November. What else can you tell us?
Actually, Scott, that's not my understanding as far as the Arraez piece is concerned. These teams were down the line when that happened. The Giants didn't have a piece like Jurangelo St. and that was the difference in the two teams and what they were offering. There were other teams involved as well. The Red Sox were involved. The Royals were involved at various points. The Dodgers, as always, were lurking. But in the end, the Cardinals needed the third team, Tampa Bay, to get exactly what they wanted because with Ben Williamson going to Tampa Bay, that enabled Tampa Bay to send the Cardinals an additional pick and an additional player, and that is what ultimately led to this deal coming to fruition.
All right, so what do you think of the impact for the Mariners and how badly they needed to pull this off, Ken? Also, if you want to mix in some parts from your story this morning on a very unique day for the Seattle front office.
Well, I love it for the Mariners, and I'm a Brendan Donovan fan. It seems to me that virtually everyone is a Brendan Donovan fan, and he'll go at the top of their order. Most likely will start the season at third base. They were talking about bringing their top prospect, Colt Emerson, to the big leagues, playing him at third, but with Donovan, you don't have to do that. Now, he can play other positions as well, and if Cole Young struggles at second base, or if they need someone to fill in the outfield, Brendan Donovan can do that, and offensively, this is really the key for the Mariners. Top of the order, in front of Raleigh and Julio and Arozarena and that gang. And then at the bottom of the order with J.P. Crawford and Cole Young being contact guys, that gives them a little bit of a different look with Brendan Donovan also being someone who puts the ball in play. It's a much more intriguing looking offense than it has been. And for that reason, and I forgot to mention Naylor, of course, this is a very intriguing trade for the Mariners. And they gave up a good amount. St. is, by some estimations, a top 100 prospect. The outfielder, Ty Pete, is a guy who is kind of a flyer, a chance you take, high upside if it happens, and then the pick as well. But with Williamson, he was expendable once they got Donovan. So for them, this was a move that they had to make. Now, as for the story I wrote today, I learned last night that the Mariners kind of learned that they had an agreement. Not kind of. They learned they had an agreement when they were at the Washington State Capitol in Olympia, Washington yesterday. The state Senate there was adopting a proclamation basically hailing the Mariners and Cal Raleigh for his historic season, for the Mariners for their great year. And at that moment when they were reading the proclamation, Justin Hollander, the Mariners GM, got a text. It was part of a group text with Heimblum, the Cardinals president of baseball operations. And Heimblum said to Hollander, start the medicals, we're good to go, meaning they had an agreement and that they had to next finalize the medicals and review the medicals, that this takes place with every trade. And that is how, on a day that the Mariners people were at the State House, they came to get Brendan Donovan.
I want to ask about the person you just brought up, Heimblum. Obviously, everybody says Heimblum traded Mookie Betts. Okay. Ownership made Heimblum get rid of Mookie Betts. I felt like that transition year where Heim was kind of helping in the minor leagues, helping the structure, the infrastructure was going to be Mo's opportunity to Mozeliak, the previous GM, to get rid of these guys. And now Chaim had to come in. Is Chaim's legacy going to be very similar in St. Louis as it is in Boston? Obviously, we don't know the future, but is it fair to Chaim Bloom to make him make these moves?
He knew what he was getting into. And last year with Mozeliak in his final year, Mozeliak was not willing, and maybe ownership was not willing, to go to these lengths to start the rebuilding process. They were kind of waiting for Chaim Bloom to be that guy. Now, when you embark upon something like this, and remember, they've traded Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras, and of course now as well, Brendan Donovan, you know that it's going to be painful. Cardinals fans know it's going to be painful, and Cardinals fans, the knowledgeable ones, understand that this was probably overdue. So I don't know that Chaim Bloom is being looked at in a negative way in St. Louis. The Boston situation was entirely different, Erik, and you alluded to it. Ownership basically forced that deal by not signing Betts. Chaim Bloom didn't make a great deal. I don't know that it was going to be easy for him to make a great deal with 1 year of Mookie left at a big salary number. So, and with the Dodgers also taking on David Price and the rest of his money. So that was one job. This is another job and another task entirely. And I would say that we don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but the direction he has taken with this team, that is the proper direction. This is what they need to do at this moment in time in their evolution as an organization. And the moves that he has made so far have been pointing toward a better future. Whether it transpires or not, whether he picked the right guys, that remains to be seen. But I will go back to one trade he made in Boston. I'll go back to a couple things, actually. The trade of Christian Vasquez to the Astros that brought them back Wilyer Abreu. Pretty good trade. It was one that I actually criticized at the time. A lot of people did. Thought it was unnecessary. And then you look at some of the young players that they have in the big leagues right now. These were guys drafted under Chaim Bloom, developed under Chaim Bloom. So his legacy in Boston is not simply the Mookie Betts trade. It's a lot of what is going on there in a positive way right now.
Ken, Chaim Bloom used to work for the Rays. How did the Rays always end up in a 3-team trade and they're always like, hey, we'll just take the last player, something like that? How do they always end up in these trades? Because it always seems like if there's a 3-team trade, somehow the Rays are involved, getting a player, giving up a draft pick, whatever it is. How do they do this every time?
AJ, you're absolutely right. They are willing on these kinds of deals, and they are able. And John Becker from Fangraphs last night posted something on X in which he said, I believe 6 of the last 7 3-team trades have involved the Rays. And clearly, they are, in many cases, a facilitator in these deals. So in this case, Seattle and St. Louis couldn't quite match up. They talked about this starting in November. We're 3 months later now, and they had yet to match up. The Rays found a way, as I mentioned earlier, by taking Williamson from the Mariners and then sending additional capital to the Cardinals. That was a way to satisfy the Cardinals in a way that the Mariners were not able to do on their own. So I don't know that in each case it's been the same kind of role. In some of these trades, I'm sure they were the principal team looking for the third team. But as John Becker tweeted right there, or posted, I should say, they have a knack for doing this kind of thing.
At the beginning, when you first came on, you said three of Scott's favorite words. The Red Sox were in. I guess that's 4. The Red Sox were in on. So anyway, what's next for the Red Sox? Essentially, they've been in on so many guys, and they've missed out. But what's next, or what are you hearing is next for them?
They need an infielder, and preferably a right-handed hitter. Donovan actually was not a great fit for them in that respect. He's a left-handed hitter, but the roster that they have is largely left-handed. So ideally, it's a right-handed guy to play second base so Meyer can play third. Whether they accomplish that or not, I'm not sure they'll be able to. It's getting late in the offseason. The options are dwindling. If you want Nico Horner from the Cubs, you better be prepared to give up an awful lot. The Cubs do not want to trade him. So I don't know exactly where this is going with them. Clearly, though, they need that additional bat, that one more offensive piece. The guy who would have been perfect was Ketel Marte. But Ketel Marte, as the Diamondbacks stand right now, is not getting traded.
Yeah. No, he was at one time. Then he wasn't. And yeah, he's definitely not now, I don't think, especially after the Arenado move. So he's off the table. Gino Suarez would have looked nice for the Red Sox, just saying, but he's now in Cincinnati. We won't have time to get into that, Ken. Andrew McCutchen is a Pirates legend. He won an MVP there. He brought him back to when they actually made the playoffs and were relevant again. Why can't they figure this out? Why can't they just do like the Red Sox did with Tim Wakefield and like, hey, as long as you want to play, here's 1 year, $5 million, and you can play as long as you want to play, and you will always have a spot here in Pittsburgh.
I wrote about this at length today, AJ, and it's a complicated situation in many ways. And one of the things that should have happened here, and the Pirates do realize this, they should have addressed this with McCutchen sooner. Should have told him last offseason or even during the season, if this was their intention, hey, this is it, Andrew. Let's plan out your farewell. Let's make it the last go-round in Pittsburgh, and let's go from there. The problem with that is that Andrew McCutchen still believes he can play. And actually last year was pretty good. Not great, not the Andrew McCutchen of old, of course, but a contributing major league player, especially against left-handed pitching. He gives you a good at-bat. And then you're looking at a situation where, okay, the Pirates suddenly decide this offseason that, we've got Paul Skeens. Maybe we should try a little harder since we've got Paul Skeens and have wasted 2 years with him. So they set out to improve their offense, to improve it in a bigger way than they had in the past when McCutchen was really the first person they signed the last 3 off seasons. The first guy that they turned to, then they built around him. This year, what do? They sign Ryan O'Hearn. They trade for Brandon Lau, pick up some other pieces as well, the password from Boston. And McCutchen seems to be the odd man out. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened this way. Part of it is his pride and him saying, hey, I can still play. I should be here. And part of it is also them saying, you know what? We're kind of ready to move on. They're not saying that explicitly. In fact, they're saying we're leaving the door open. But clearly, they are ready to accelerate in their building here, and they want to do better in that DH spot, perhaps, than Andrew McCutchen. I ended the column by saying, listen, if they don't want McCutchen, that's fine. But unless you find someone better, then what are we doing here? That's kind of what I said. And it's a really difficult situation. AJ, I don't know that you experienced this, Erik. I don't know that you experienced it either, but sometimes with players at the end of their careers, particularly superstar players, it's difficult because they are superstars in large part because they saw themselves in a way that others did not. They had immense faith in their abilities. And when you're like that, when you're built like that, when it comes down to the end, sometimes it's difficult to admit. And that's part of this too.
I've seen it, but I love the way you ended your article. You said they have to make another move. They need to make another move. And if that other move isn't better than Andrew McCutchen, what are they doing?
Right. And it could have been Suarez. They were in on Eugenio Suarez, and I know they're getting the tried hard medal too, like the Red Sox are. And they're in a little bit of a different spot, of course, because as I wrote, when players have a better option, when free agents have a better option, a more competitive option in their opinion, they're going to choose that option over the Pirates. That's simply what the Pirates have created for themselves with their efforts the last few years. So in Eugenio Suarez's case, he had played in Cincinnati for 7 seasons. He was comfortable there. Money's comparable. Hey, why not go back? And that's the choice he made. If they had signed Suarez, or if they get someone along those lines, then I think it's easier for them to justify parting with McCutchen and saying, Andrew, no longer. It's no longer time for you here. We want to move on. You can retire here later if you want to go somewhere else, which he has every right to do, and go about it in that way. But right now, they don't have that additional piece, and McCutchen's sitting out there, and they're going to go to spring training next week if this has not been resolved, with manager Don Kelly in his first spring training answering questions about something that he is absolutely not in control of.
Ken, I want to double down on what you said with the Pirates expecting to get a player when they're putting up a very similar offer here. Noah Hiles, who is one of the hosts on our Bucko Territory show, went after them today. I mean, are they not experienced enough to understand this? Ben Cherington's been in the business for a long period of time, whether it's him or someone else. The part I don't understand is you make a somewhat identical offer from what it sounds like, and then maybe hint that you could go up. Hey, guys, it's February. What's your best offer? And do you really want the player, right? There's so much confusion. Fans are like, did they even want him? Well, it sounds like they wanted him because they threw an offer out. So is there any way that you can help to take us inside why they would miss on a player that I think they clearly wanted and felt like they could have beaten the offer, yet didn't, like waited? I'm very lost on this one.
That's a question for them, Scott, more so than me. And I will try to get inside their heads, but that's sometimes a dangerous game to play. It seems to me that they are valuing players properly. The problem is when you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, valuing players properly is not necessarily going to get a deal done. Now, what if they had gone to $18 million for 1 year with Suarez, $3 million more than he got from the Reds? Does that get it done? It might. And if you're the Pirates and you're hell-bent on doing what you're saying, surrounding Skeens with the best possible talent, taking full advantage of his final years with the team, then you're going to have to overpay in certain cases. With Ryan O'Hearn, that was a market deal, it seemed to be. Maybe a little bit of an overpay. He's a good player for sure. 2 years, $29 million. But they have not been able to get the free agents. And yes, I think what you're getting at is, why aren't they overpaying? They need to overpay. And I would not dispute that, Scott. The results speak for themselves. If you're going to go and play in this arena, which they suddenly are seeming to play in, well, then go do it and don't kind of do it halfway.
That was my point. We talked to Jim Bowden yesterday, and I said the same thing. Listen, you say what you want about the Reds and Suarez, but if you're going to get him to come to Pittsburgh over Cincinnati, where he's already been, and people forget the Reds did make the playoffs last year. No matter how they got in, yes, they did make the playoffs. And what do veteran players look like, especially on short-term deals? They want to go somewhere where they can win for that one. Teoscar Hernandez did it, right? For that 1 year, he went to the Dodgers. They win the World Series. Boom, he jumps back again, right? Blake Snell tried that with the Giants. Teams, they want to go to a place. Bregman went to the Red Sox in that short-term deal. They want where they feel like they have a chance to win. So if you're the Pirates, I'm sorry, you have to go 2 years and maybe 30 or 1 year 20. You have to almost blow somebody out of the water in order to get them there. That's why LA has become such a destination. It was why the Yankees forever was a destination, because hey, we're going to the postseason. I got a chance to finally get my ring. And if you're going to be that in Pittsburgh, you're going to have to overpay, even though they don't want to. I'm sorry.
That's fair, AJ. And certainly the results have indicated just what you're saying, that they're not getting it done, giving players maybe the value that they think is fair and a value that actually is fair. That's fine. But when you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, when you have this recent history, 7 straight losing seasons, you're going to have to do some things differently. And they've done things differently in the sense that they've gone after these guys when they haven't done that in the past. But I remember this came up after I reported their offer to Schwarber. It was a good offer, but it was never going to get it done because, of course, he had a comparable offer, even a better offer from the Phillies, and they needed to go well above where the Phillies were. You want to play the game, you got to play it and play it at full tilt.
Ken, last one. What's the next chip to fall? Now that we've got some trades out of the way, some free agents, what, in your opinion, do you feel like is the next chip to fall? The upper tier Framber, the middle tier Bassett, the Verlander type of what's coming down the road? Because we're days now. We're days away from pitchers and catchers for some teams.
I don't know that it's Framber. And obviously he could sign in the next hour. I'd look like an idiot. But it seems to me that's going to go into spring training. And it's going to take maybe an injury or a team seeing that maybe it's not as good as it thought it is. And that would be how that gets resolved. I will tell you one thing that we're all waiting for. The Detroit Tigers arbitration hearing with Tarek Skubal, which is taking place tomorrow. The outcome there likely will influence what the Tigers do next. If they lose and Skubal gets $32 million, I don't expect the Tigers to play for a starting pitcher, whether it's Bassett or Giolito, anybody that they might be in line for. If they win, and that salary is $19 million for Skubal instead of $32 million, then perhaps the Tigers will do that one additional piece. Now, you can make the argument, and I would make this argument, that they should do it regardless. You've got one more year at Erik Skubal. Hello, let's go. But it seems that from what Cody Stavenhagen has reported in The Athletic, that their next move hinges on what happens in that hearing.
Ken, sorry, last one, just based on what you just said here. Is there any chance that trade talks fire back up if they lose? Because they seem to be so cash strapped. And if you're not going for it, this has been your thing all offseason. If you're not going for it, what are you doing with Erik Skubal? You're going to waste away the asset?
Scott, it's always possible. And certainly if it's $32 million, maybe they're more motivated. But at the same time, what are you doing if you're the Detroit Tigers and you make that decision? That would be looked at so poorly by their fan base, and rightly so. I don't care what the return is. You've got 1 year left with the one or two best pitchers in the game. He's right there with Skeens. Take your pick. And you have a chance to win with him. You've built your team to try to win with him. Kenley Jansen, of course, came over. They have done some other things as well. And now you're going to say, we're pulling the plug with Jansen and Finnegan in the bullpen. No, that doesn't make much sense to me. And also, if they did that, if because they lose this arbitration or lost this arbitration and had to pay him $32 million, then the question comes back to their original negotiating strategy with Skubal. Why didn't you just cut a deal with him when you had the chance to before figures were exchanged? Now, if you remember, I reported this and some Detroit reporters followed up on it as well. Their offer to Skubal was just a touch above David Price's record $19.75 million. A touch above. If you wanted to get this done, you probably had to be more than just a little bit above. You probably had to go into the 20s. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. Maybe they felt like the Pirates. This is the proper value. We're going to win this case if it goes to arbitration. But that's where it is.
Sorry, Ken, that was my bad. I just knocked my cup over.
Ken, I'm just going to say this. I've said this before on here, and we're going to get into this whole Skubal thing. This doesn't end well for anybody. Ask Corbin Burns. Ask anybody that's gone. I've been to arbitration. This is an awful process. No matter if he wins or loses, even if he wins, I won. And I still walked out of there going, that sucked. That team hates me. And when I did it, I had just gotten traded for, right? And I'm like, that team hates me. Now imagine Skubal, who's been there 5 plus years, won 2 Cy Youngs, basically carried them to the playoffs twice. And he's going to walk out of there, no matter what they say about him, he's going to be like, man, they don't really dig me that much. So why would, I don't know. It's just bad optics. It's a bad thing. And I tell you what, it's going to be fascinating to see who wins and loses, because someone's going to be really happy and someone's going to be really pissed.
Question is, of course, with this, how much was Major League Baseball and the Labor Relations Department influencing what happened here? How much did they sit on the Tigers to stay at $19 million with their filing number and not to go above 19.8 or whatever it was for their offer initially? That is a question that needs to be asked. This is not just on the Tigers. Just as the union is responsible in some respects for the players ask, the league is responsible for how the teams go about it in ARB, and that's part of this equation too. So I don't want to put it just on the Tigers when there is more going on here.
Yep, and we're going to continue on this one. Yeah.
I know. Hold on. While we have Ken, since he brought it up, I said this from the get-go. This, with a negotiating year this year, this is a chance for the owners to say, hey, arbitration doesn't work. If they win against Skubal, they'll say, you guys threw your best pitcher that's ever been through the arbitration process at us, and he couldn't make more than a guy from 10 years ago in 2015, David Price. Maybe we should relook at this whole arbitration thing, because the owners hate arbitration, right? The players like it because it gets them more money sooner, but the owners hate it. So it's also could be, hey, if they win, because if you also notice the timing of this case, Ken, I believe it's the first arbitration case going, right? Usually they save the big ones for last. This time they're like, fuck that. we're putting this giant one up front so everyone sees the results, right? So that they're throwing, the MLB is throwing all they have at it. And I know Boris is throwing, Boris is probably going to be the guy that does the arbitration, right? He's probably going to sit in the room and actually make the argument. Now, it'd be something if we had Boris on one side and Manfred on the other side, and they're arguing at each other, because that would be unbelievable if we could get a camera in there. But this means so much for the players, and it means so much for the owners, that this literally is a historic arbitration case. Whether you care or not, this for baseball is a historic case. And whatever, and again, they don't tell you why you won or lost. They just call you and say, hey, you won or you lost. Nobody explains it. Nobody says this or that. So whoever wins is going to be a lot richer, and whoever loses is going to be really pissed off.
AJ, you did not overstate it. This is a huge thing.
Exactly. There you go. We'll have blow-by-blow coverage tomorrow. No, just kidding. But Ken, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll check in later this week.
Thanks, guys.
Fair territory. We'll, I'm sure, talk about this on Thursday. If you have questions, I wish we had blow-by-blow coverage. I wish we could live stream this thing so damn badly.
I'd pay
Some
for
rich
it.
streamer needs to get it. Somebody needs to do it. But anyway, let's keep talking about this right now.
They never let you do that.
What's the one thing you say, AJ? Everyone likes money. You want money? You can sell this thing. This arbitration case alone, I think you could sell for more than the price of one regular season game. I think it would be that popular for fans to watch how this goes down, and how you make a case for Erik Skubal not being good at baseball. Not being good enough to be what?
We'd need a warm up first. Like, this would be like a boxing match where we need a couple like preliminary fights, so that fans kind of like, what is this? I don't even know what this is. Arbitration, millionaires, billionaires, what's going on? And then bang, 6 o'clock at the Palestra in Phoenix. Scott Boras versus Bob Manfred.
We're gonna have a little warm up, a little appetizer of Isaac Paredes. Oh no, wait, he just settled with the Astros. Sorry, that one's wiped. That's actually a true story. I'll be here all day. But AJ, yeah, this is fascinating. I know that if you just look at David Price's $19.75 million, which is the record in ARB for a pitcher, and you slap inflation on it from 11 years, it's $27 million. That's without looking at Skubal's accolades. Yeah, there's multiple arguments. How about the argument of who's making more money right now than Skubal, and how he's better than all of them, and he's allowed to compare himself to free agents? Sure. You want to call me biased on this one? Here, actually, this will state it right, AJ. For example, you and Jim Bowden will have many head-to-head battles over how the CBA is going to go down, right? Bowden is saying, like, nobody has a chance if you're a small market team, blah, 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 all that, right? Bowden is like, if this case doesn't go to Skubal, everything makes no sense.
That's my point. What did I just say to Ken? I've been saying that from the get-go, remember? This is not just about Erik Skubal. This is about the CBA and baseball going forward. So that's why this number is huge. This number is if you're a player out there and you're watching this or you're listening to this, you need to be rooting for Erik Skubal. If you're Paul Skeens, you need to be rooting for Erik Skubal in this case. If you're any player, if you're in high school, if you're in college and you think you have a chance to get to the major leagues, you need to be rooting for Erik Skubal in this case. If you're a fan of baseball players in general, and you can say they make too much money, Erik Skubal, you need to be rooting for. It's one of those landmark cases in the history of the game for arbitration. Now, obviously, it's not free agency and some of the other things that have gone down, Jackie Robinson and all those great things that have happened. But for arbitration, and if you are on the player side at all, you need to be rooting for Erik Skubal. And again, I firmly believe Scott Boras is probably going to argue this case himself, which he's done a lot of. I think he's argued, I looked up the numbers, 50 plus in his day personally, not saying like one of his other guys, but Scott himself. So I'm guarantee you, what I know about Scott, they probably had him in a room for the last week and have fired everything in the world at Scott Boras to get him mentally prepared. He's going to be like a UFC fighter, like a boxer. Like when they come to the ring, he's going to be like frothing at the mouth, right? Perfect weigh-in shape, right? Ready to fight. And I guarantee you, the owners have done the same thing on their side. They've got their best, whoever their best guy is, whoever that is, has been in a room for a week and just everything. And they're going to both try to get the other guy off their game. And at the end of the day, whoever's better is going to win. But the arguments are all for Skubal because he doesn't even have to prove 32. He's got to prove 25. Okay. And if you look at all the comps, he should be making more than 25 million because he's allowed to use free agents. He should win, but you know what that means? Not a damn thing in this game because there's times where you look at numbers, you're like, this guy should win. And some reason he loses, and you never know why.
25.5 and $1, right? That's half, 19 to 32. My math isn't mathing right now. It's
25.5.
12.
You got it.
25.5.
Yeah, that's what they need to prove. I've been calling different people this morning, like players that I thought went to actual arbitration, like AJ did, just to like kind of get an idea. And one of the guys was like, "Hey, call this GM." So I called the GM, and he was like, he blew my mind on this. He was like, "Look," he's like, "I believe that if you have a pissed off player, your organization's not going to be in a good shape." And I was like, "Okay, I completely agree with you." And he said, honestly, exactly what AJ said. This is a Major League Baseball versus the Players Association. So why are the teams even getting involved? Why are the teams even saying, okay, I'm not even sure who will do it because it's not going to be Scott Harris for the Tigers. It'll be the assistant GM.
No,
why
it'll be an MLB guy. It'll be trust me. It'll be an MLB.
Generally.
Scott Harris will be sitting there. Scott Harris will be sitting there across from Erik Kratz, and you're staring at. When I did mine, it was Brian Sabian and Ned Coletti. They're across about 8 feet away from you. Okay, there's 2 tables separated by about 2 feet in between, and you're sitting there. And literally, I'll never forget to this day. Don't mind me, I don't have shoes on. I walked in, and Ned Coletti and Brian Sabian were sitting there with their feet like this in cowboy boots on the table when I walked in.
Come on,
just like that. I swear. And I was like, oh wow, that's awesome, guys.
The picture of arrogance.
And then I went in, and they don't say anything. It's the owners. They have like a lawyer that does all the arguing. So I don't know who it would be. Noah, what's his name? Noah Hiles. Scott, you know the MLB staffing way better. Whoever they're
Noah Hiles, that's their Bucko territory host.
He's Bucko territory.
Well, anyways, he cares because for scheme.
It's not Noah Garden. I know that's the
Noah Garden. Sorry,
side. No, it's not Noah. It wouldn't be him. I mean, Dan Halem is one of the top lawyers who's been there forever with Rob, but I don't know who. I think they have specific ARB guys. Morgan Sword's a top guy there, but I think it's probably someone that works below them.
They'll use their top guy, but they'll just sit there. The GM and the player, you're told not to say anything. You just sit there like this, and you just listen to them. And there are times where they just make stuff up. I mean, my case is forever ago now, but I'm just like, because they tell you at the time, Michael Weiner for the Players Association, and my agent sitting next to me, and they're like, whatever they say, just don't react. And they were saying some outlandish shit, and I was like, trying not to turn red. One of the arguments against me, I'll never forget, was I went up. So when I went, it's not way different money, but I went for a record for first year ARB catchers. Okay. 3.5 million. The Giants countered at 2.25. Right. And I'm like, and they wouldn't go when we tried to get something done before, they wouldn't go above 2.5. And I go, well, I got a chance to win 1.25 or lose 250,000. I'm like, I'll take my shot for the 3.5. Right. So we go into this meeting, and Michael Weiner was all about it because it would have raised the bar big time for catchers, because catchers at the time were getting paid shit. And so we do the whole thing and da-da-da-da-da. And one of the arguments was, I'll never forget this. They go, well, Pierzynski last year had 7 pass balls or whatever it was. And they go, Jason Varitek only had 6, and he catches Tim Wakefield, the knuckleballer, every time he pitches. And I'm like, no, he doesn't even catch. It's Mirabelli that catches him every time. And I'm like trying not, and that sticks in my head. Like, they just make things up. But then you have to remember the arbitrators, they don't know. They don't know who does what really, because they're not really baseball people. They're just salary arbitrators that don't really know baseball. So just things like that. You're just like, what can they say about Erik Skubal? You were hurt your first couple of years, but then since then you've won 2 Cy Youngs? I don't know.
We actually have a tweet. We have a tweet that picked up some attention. I don't know. This might just be a random fan, or it might be somebody in the biz. Apologies in advance. I don't know, but I really respect the tweet. So I found it this morning, and if we can cue it up and show it, his name is Kyle. He put together something funny here. Kyle Bland Analytics. Possible arguments against Skubal in arbitration. Number 1, our relievers got less playing time because of you. That's selfish. Number 2, you made our draft pick worse. Number 3, we're running out of space in our trophy room because of your Cy Young awards. Number 4, you make fan expectations too high. And actually gets me thinking, AJ, should he show up with his 2 Cy Young Award trophies? He's picked them up the past 2 years in New York City.
That would be awesome if he showed up. He just carried one in each arm and just set them on the table. It was like, oh, sorry, guys. Little extra hardware. I wanted you guys to be. I mean, yeah, hell yeah. What if I was him? I mean, oh my gosh. I listen. I know this is a big deal, but I just don't know how. I don't know how he loses, and I obviously don't want him to lose. But let's go back to. I don't know. I want to go back to what Ken said. Why does it? So if the Tigers win this arbitration case and they have 13 extra million, then they're going to go get somebody else maybe to help their team. But if they lose it, then they can't afford it. Well, you want to talk about making Skubal feel like crap even more after going in there and bad-mouthing him? Then you're telling him that because he wants the money he's worth, that then they can't make their team better? Like, I guarantee if you would have went to Erik Skubal and said, we'll give you $25 million to save 7 and we can go get a better player, he probably would have said yes.
I think this is hilarious, Kratz. They might use this in the case. They might say Skubal makes us worse. Why? Because if we have to pay him $12 million more, then we're not going to give that to someone else. So that will make us a little bit worse. I mean, I don't know what else they can say. So maybe they'll just start coming up with things that make no sense. And yes, I agree. It's a very tough look to examine their offseason. It's one of the more confusing off seasons. The stance is we are good and we are young, so we will be better. We essentially haven't done anything, and we are keeping our asset who is going to be a free agent after this year. So we're not pushing chips in with that asset, a number 1, and we're not trading him away. That, to me, is called the muddled middle. Now, are they a contender? Sure. Are they a playoff contender? Yes. But are they really trying to win a World Series?
I mean, if they saw look at the Mariners. Look what the Mariners have done, how close they were to winning a World Series. And they have clearly, have they pushed all in? Have they signed somebody at $250 million? No. And I hope fans don't get that twisted about that's what we're saying, like teams need to do to go all in. They just need to, like the Mariners, perfect example. For me, A+ for this offseason for the Mariners with this last move that they made. The Tigers can't say, wow, we loved what was going on in the postseason last year. We're just not going to quite push for this year. I don't think they can truly say that. And I hope after this case is over that their goal is then, hey, you know what? We are pushing it. We're taking all our chips. And just like Teddy KGB says, we splash the pot.
You might need to tell kids the reference.
What movie?
It's Rounders. The movie Rounders. Yeah, it's a good movie. I randomly had chips sitting over here too.
Wow. You brought props. Okay. The Tigers are actually relevant for this next segment, so we're going to start there. It's on the TV side of things, but they're tied up in some question marks. So let's bring in our next guest to help sort through it. The Athletic's Evan Drellich joining us right now, working hard on a number of stories this week. But Evan, we're going to begin with the TV chaos for a number of teams. And it looks like we've learned many of those teams are going to join up with MLB. But we want to talk to you also about how that affects their revenue and their spending for the rest of this offseason. So great to have you on, as always. And I'll give you the floor to help explain what is going on this week with regional sports network deals and many teams involved trying to decide what to do. Oh, wait, you're muted, dude. Hold on. Stand by. Can you try again?
We can translate for you, Evan, if you want us to.
Nope. Still
a
muted.
hell of a rip leader.
Hold on.
Rip leader.
You got him?
Rip
no.
leader.
Still don't have him.
I bet they're going to make you X out and restart the link, but I am not the tech-savvy guy here.
Check audio settings. Not sure what's happening. It was fine before. This is what we do.
You look tremendous, Evan. You look tremendous.
Click carrot.
That is.
How do I get one of those hoodies? Can't Rosenthal send me one of them?
Yep, up.
I heard him.
You hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
There we go. I don't think that was my fault, but that's okay. Probably. Well,
no, it wasn't. It wasn't your fault.
No, it wasn't your fault. But Yeah, you got the
So the question-
Tell us what's going on with the TV situation for a number of teams and how it's affecting them.
Nothing great is going on. I would say that the fact that we're a couple, weeks from the start of spring training, and we have fans in, up to a kind of close to a third of the league's markets who are now going to have to figure out, well, where are these games going to be aired? What am I going to have to do come the regular season? I mean, you still got close to 2 months, but it's not the game of musical chairs you want to have happen here. There's this company, Main Street Sports Group, that operates the FanDuel Sports Networks, that's had all sorts of financial problems. They were in a big bankruptcy case that we've gone over on the show before, and they were the partner to 9 major league teams. They basically ran out of cash. They stopped paying teams, including the Cardinals, in December. And there was this renegotiation period in January where the MLB team said, we're canceling our contract, but we'll still talk to you. Let's see if we can work something out here and maybe find a way to come back. It was all contingent on this company, Main Street, getting a buyer, getting more cash into its pockets to be able to pay the teams for these rights. And it basically just hasn't happened in time. So yesterday you had 6 MLB teams formally announced that they are going to MLB's internal broadcasting group. So MLB, which was already going to carry 7 teams before this happened, is now going to carry probably 14, maybe as many as 15 teams in 2026. So the regional sports network world, where teams partner with this third-party company who puts on the games, it's just disappearing. And so you have 6 teams that are with MLB now. A 7th, the Tigers, likely going to go to MLB. They got to work it out a little bit because the ownership group of the Tigers also owns a hockey team, the Red Wings, and there might be some what's the word I'm looking for? Synchronization that they're looking for, synergy in what they do there. And then the 2 that we're really waiting on are the Braves and the Tigers. The Braves seem like they're going to start their own network. I'm sorry, Braves and the Angels. We don't know exactly what the Angels are going to do, but they could end up with MLB as well. So, there's a world in which really only one team doesn't go to MLB from this group of 9.
What does this money look like for those teams? Because that's what we're always hearing. Oh, no, it's in flux. Not sure about our TV deal. Will the money be similar? Is Major League Baseball going to screw the pooch on this one and keep the money and then give it to the higher earning teams? No, I'm kidding. But what does the money look like for them? Will there be a severe drop-off?
Significant drop-off. MLB on its website the other day had a stat that for teams that have already taken a haircut, and I think this is probably encompassing basically the last 3 years, they've, on average, which is an operative term, that means not everybody's at this figure, lost about 50% of what they were making. And so now they're going to lose another sizable chunk. There's a difference between how Main Street and traditional RSNs work versus what's happening if you go to MLB. The traditional RSNs, Main Street, would say, here's a set amount we're going to pay you for your rights fee. This is what the rights fee is worth. And that money's coming in. You can budget around it. With MLB, they give you projections. They say, this is what we think you're going to bring in terms of carriage agreements, meaning what you can sell to satellite companies, to cable companies, and also DTC, direct to consumer, which is just a fancy way of saying streaming subscriptions. There's been a big push inside baseball, and they've done it to get every team available for streaming so that you can watch your team's games locally without having to go get a cable bundle or satellite bundle if you don't want to do it. And so MLB is saying to the teams, whatever you get from streaming, whatever you get from the satellite and cable companies, that's what we're going to pay you. We're not going to promise you're going to get X because we might not bring in that number. And the teams, even beyond that, are just going to make less money. MLB doesn't have the same deals in place with the cable and satellite companies that Main Street did. So they're going to make less money. And this is going to all bleed into collective bargaining, which is going to start up only in a couple months here. We're going to have the league and the union starting to get together to discuss the next CBA. It's going to bleed into the next round of national deals, national TV deals come 2029, and those will be negotiated in 28. So it's local media rights in baseball are going to be something you're just going to keep hearing a ton about, and I'm so happy to talk to you about
it. All right. Isn't this, though, Manfred's dream? Isn't this what he's been talking about? MLB Central, like the NBA, and they can do these just big national deals. But and all the NBA teams still have their local. I know we have the Magic here in Orlando, and they're on FanDuel, Florida, whatever it's going to be. But now, the NBA has these deals, NFL has these. This is kind of Manfred's dream. But what I want to know, Evan, has anyone looked into like the Rangers, okay, for instance, and the White Sox? They started their own network. Did they make more money off that than they did off their previous deals? Because the Braves, right, are talking about maybe starting their own network. So the teams actually, other than Yankees, Cubs, Mets, Red Sox, the big ones, Dodgers make a ton because of sports in LA. But do any of these teams that start their own network, do they actually make more money? Then why wouldn't it stop every team from making their own network?
Well, look, the infrastructure involved, the investment involved, and the time and effort, it's a lot of capital generally, people, money that you'd have to invest to start your own network. I haven't looked enough into it to confidently tell you exactly how those networks have done. I can do that, but what I think is true is that none of them have done so well that they escape this larger RSN problem, which is that, and Rob Manfred's been on record about this, and I don't think he's wrong, that eventually, even for the teams that are doing well, the big market teams, cord cutting is going to start to eat in to the money that they get. It is not something, while the problem has largely plagued smaller market teams thus far, and the Braves are certainly, they have a lot of viewers. They are an exception there. It's something that's going to come for all of them. And so the answer doesn't seem to be, well, every team go out and start your own network. You framed it around, this is Rob's dream to have all the teams inside MLB. There's some nuance there. The dream is to make as much money as possible. That is what they are trying to do at every step of the way. And they'll talk about balancing it with reach. Sometimes you could sign up with a service that will pay you more, but maybe gets to fewer fans. And there is some sort of balancing act there. But the bottom line is the bottom line. What Rob wants is to be able to sell a large amount, or ideally all, of the local rights to potentially a streaming company in a bidding war, or multiple streaming companies. If you can say to ESPN or Peacock, whatever, come 2028, hey, besides the Sunday game of the week, you could also be the local home to 20 markets, 25 markets. There could be a lot of money attached to that, and there could be more money, the thinking is, than would be available with every team partnering on its own with an individual RSN. So what Rob wants is to control local rights through his office. And then the big question becomes, okay, if he gets that control, how is the money divided up? What happens to revenue sharing? Because the big market teams obviously have more valuable rights than the little market teams. And this is where collective bargaining with the players is going to be really interesting, because the players have an input on this. So if MLB wants to change what it does with local media rights, and it does, it's got to go through the union in regards to revenue sharing. And it's a very big jigsaw puzzle that's going to kind of underlie all that we're going to be talking about coming up here.
If the number is only 6, 8, 10 teams that end up coming under the Major League Baseball umbrella, does that work for Major League Baseball? Does that make the money? Or is it something that if they don't get X amount, if they don't get 15, 20, or even 30 teams, which I don't think they'll ever get, is that the only way that this like package system really works to make the most money?
You want as many teams and as many premier teams as possible. You're right to think this way, that if you're trying to say to Netflix, hey, buy a package of 7 or 8 teams, and it's kind of, the Rays, the Marlins, the Rockies, whatever. It's not the star-studded Dodgers, and they might never be involved. You're going to make less money from that. And there's even more nuance here, where you want to have those rights available. Rob doesn't necessarily, the central baseball office doesn't have to take control of that. You just need cooperation, and you need those rights available. So you could still be in a world where the 20 individual clubs control their local rights, and they just agree, okay, we will all come together and sell this to Netflix. I think the commissioner's office looks at it rightly, that it's a lot easier if they have final say over what to do with those rights. And that is a key thing to understand here about baseball. Local rights are controlled by the clubs. The commissioner's office does not control them. He'd like to.
You guys there?
Kratz.
Oh, sorry. No,
Yeah.
he nailed it. You nailed it, Evan. You nailed everything you said. You nailed. I think you work for the commissioner sometimes, which is fine. And no, we do not work for the Players
Oh,
Association. I just want to make sure that we establish that while we have you on. Let's go to the WBC. Yeah, he gets it. Evan gets the joke. He got it.
Sure.
That is a good joke, but not many people are in on. But that's okay. One day.
Evan got it. We had a long talk at the All-Star game this year on the field, so it's all good. Let's go to the WBC. Everyone's crying about insurance, and I said yesterday Puerto Rico can't afford to pull out of the WBC. They're not going to pull out. And eventually all these guys will find their insurance, and now we're hearing rumblings that Francisco Lindor is going to probably going to be able to play, and Edwin Diaz. Was this all a bunch of hoopla about nothing in this insurance stuff just to get attention to it?
Is there an element of this that it could be kind of construed as a pressure campaign, AJ? I think yes, but it is also very real that these guys were going to be denied. And this is a thing that was happening and is happening. I do understand that Puerto Rico Team Puerto Rico is looking for alternative insurance, which is one thing that could help. I don't know at this point if they've landed that, but that's one way that this could end up getting solved. And the other part, and this was in the original story, and there's an example of this in the past with Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers, the team, the owner of the major league team that the player plays for can say, I'm okay with this risk. And the player can then play. It is an option that exists. So there are avenues for these guys who have been told no to still play. That's a reversal in decision. That's additional insurance being acquired. That's the club owner saying, fine, we'll take the risk.
Oh,
Who made the change in the sense? Obviously, insurance didn't change. The underwriter isn't like, oh, you're right. I am a big WBC fan, so I want to see these guys play. Did they change their line? Because we talked about it yesterday, like, all insurance everywhere went up by 50 to 100%. So did Major League Baseball and the team say, okay, we're willing to actually pay more than we would have back in 2023?
So what I understand about the insurance that applies here is that after last go around, when everybody got hurt, or at least the big contract guys get hurt, Altuve, Diaz, the cost shot up. And my understanding is that there was not another competitor. It wasn't like they were choosing between different options. And one of the questions I asked one of the people I spoke to about this is, well, couldn't you have just thrown more money at this? Couldn't you have said, okay, we will pay you more for a policy that covers more? And the answer I got back was no. What was on the table is what was on the table. Does that mean now in the last week, they couldn't negotiate it slightly differently? I don't know. I don't know exactly what the conversations look like between the union, the league, and the insurance company in the last 4 or 5 days since this is all broken out. And, I don't expect them to detail it, but clearly the league and the union are trying to get the insurance company to change its mind on some things. Could you offer more money to make them change their minds? Yeah. But I don't know that that's what happened. That's going to be left to the imagination, at least for now.
Is there any?
Oh, go ahead, Kratzy.
Is there anything to say? Is there anything like, because some of the Puerto Rican, Venezuelan players felt like this was more of an attack on them? Was it just a super random, every time the insurance wheel spun, it was a Puerto Rican player or a Venezuelan player?
It seems, listen, the portrayal I'm getting from inside is that nobody has anything against any specific teams here, and that it happens to be that the players, particularly with the Team Puerto Rico roster, are just unfortunately triggering a lot of these disqualifying criteria more than other teams. The timing of it seems to be certainly suboptimal, and one of the things I was asking is, well, could you do this differently? And could you do it earlier? Could you get these decisions made in November? And the problem, if you do it in November, is, well, what about a guy's health situation in winter ball? What if something develops positively or negatively once the regular season ends? Because if you kind of do these evaluations earlier, guys haven't had the benefit of being able to heal up for the winter. That said, Do you have to be taking it right down to the wire like this? I'm not so sure there. So it seems to be just unfortunate that these guys are triggering their criteria. 60-day IL, major or simply surgery period are big flags, but the insurance company can make a holistic decision. There's something called an EMR. Please Google it if you want to understand how this works in insurance. But they look at a guy's injury history. They look at the body part specifically. Has Lindor had a problem in this elbow before, for example? And so it's not as simple as X disqualifies you, but it is often as simple as X disqualifies you. But they can kind of, they take a whole picture is the idea anyway.
Evan, by the way, I know you're a great writer, but if you ever want to make a lot of money, get into the insurance business. It's the one thing that everybody has to have. Nobody wants to use it. And then when you try to use it, the insurance company tells you no, and they still get their money. So it's like the greatest job. It's one of the greatest jobs besides writing at The Athletic that one could ever have. Okay, so just remember that.
For some stability where people don't yell at me all the time. That might be a nice idea. I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
I know Ken's a mean coworker, so I understand. He yells at me too. So we share that problem. Okay, is there any way going forward at the WBC that the owners and the players, because they joint own this, right? Basically, there's some other federations that have money, that they could come together and say, man, this is really a problem. It's really putting a little bit of a damper on this. We can find our own insurance on our own. Like I don't know how to ask the question. Like where they can come together and say, we're going to help pay these costs, or we're going to help do this and change the rules a little bit, because everybody wants. I want to see this. I want the best players out there. Everybody wants the best players out there, even though someone like Francisco Lindor had an elbow problem a year ago, says he's fine, can play in spring training.
The answer is yes. It is always possible that they could figure out a way to do this. It is collectively bargained, so it's not in the CBA for you CBA nerds out there who want to go through the PDF and try to find stuff about how this works. But it's a separate agreement between the league and the union as to how the WBC is going to operate and how this insurance applies. They can renegotiate that. But the big question is, and I've said it on this show before, it always comes back to money. Who's taking that risk? Are the club owners going to stand there and say, all right, for the betterment of this grand international event, we are willing to take on that risk? It has certainly been the history of the MLBPA, and you can understand why, that they're not going to try to make a guaranteed contract anything but a guaranteed contract. So it would seem highly unlikely the players are going to say, okay, if I get hurt playing in the WBC, well, now the team doesn't have to pay me. And it seems pretty unlikely that the clubs are going to be like, well, you got hurt not playing for us, you got hurt playing for your home country. Why am I on the hook for all this money for the next X number of years? So they could absolutely find a way to do this differently. It would require one or both sides being willing to take more risk with their money. And gosh, do they like money?
That is the name of the game. They wouldn't be doing this tournament if they didn't like money. That's the part that I'm not understanding. I mean, it seems like something that is under baseball's umbrella. I understand that both sides have to be on the same page, but you want participation. You should want participation. And maybe this has to do with front offices too, who often don't want their players participating, especially pitchers. But if I was the league, I'd be like, yeah, everyone plays. We want you to play. There's an injury for the, 5-6 games that someone's playing. Oh, well, you take the hit there. And that's how this works. And we're still going to make profit off of this tournament. Again, they wouldn't be doing this tournament if it wasn't a profitable venture, right? They had games prepared in France and they were like, this is not going to make us money. We don't have a promoter to back this. Boom, we're taking it out. I think it was France. You probably know better than I do. Point is, we don't see the books for this. They're definitely making money off of it. I just feel like it's overcomplicated. Maybe I'm just not understanding things and there's too much risk on the table, but it's not like we're seeing 20 injuries. The insurance premiums went through the roof because they're only insuring this particular tournament. And they look at Altuve's injury, and I'm sure they had to pay for Edwin Diaz for a season and change, and say, hey, this isn't profitable enough for us, so we're going to raise your premiums. That's why if I'm the league, I'm like, maybe we just save the money here and take on the risk ourselves. And if 2 guys get hurt a year, it's kind of a win.
The insurance, I was told, costs a massive amount of money. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is very expensive. And the way it works this go around is, and this part I think actually might have been true in the past as well. It covers 4 years for pitchers, 2 years for hitters. So that means if this is a hypothetical, Ohtani were to pitch and were to be covered to pitch, which he was, according to the information Ken and I had, he was not going to be. The insurance was not going to sign off on Shohei Ohtani being covered as a pitcher. But had he been, that would have meant that the full 70, not the discounted 46 million with net present value and the deferrals, that $70 million per year for 4 years would have been covered under that policy, $280 million. That's obviously the most extreme example I can give you. But when you're talking about, the point here is when you have one star player on a big contract go down, the insurance company can very quickly take a bath. And that is what I was told happened last time, that the insurance company did not win with the amount of money that it had to pay out based on what went on last time. And so I think both things are true. It is too bad they can't find a way to make this easy. And you can also imagine if you owned a baseball team sitting there and going, I don't want to be on the hook for this guy getting hurt for this. And the player going, well, I don't want to be giving up my guaranteed salary with whatever the Mets so that I can play for 2 weeks in spring. It's a problem that could be fixed. I'm not sure it'll be perfectly fixed.
This sounds like it'll be fun for the Olympics too. But wait, let me backtrack for a moment, just because I am the nerd that reads all of your stories, and Ken's as well. So, from what I understood, the cost for the insurance company doesn't affect the premium. There was a part in there that said, like, it doesn't matter what the total salaries are. Maybe you can play to this better and explain it to me, because this is a part that I need an explanation on, because in my brain I'm just going, cool, the Ohtani explanation just gave me means this costs a ton of money, right? In my head, this costs a ton of money. So again, let's just try and save this money and put the onus on the teams in the league, because we are promoting this for our sport and it's one freaking tournament for a couple weeks.
So, and I actually realized now as I'm talking about the Ohtani example, well, he's still playing as a hitter and the salary is the same as a hitter. It's the money is the same there, but it's 2 years compared to 4 years that they'll cover. One of the questions I was asking in reporting out that story that Ken and I did the other day is, does one person's approval, one player's approval, have any impact on another player's approval, in the sense that basically, is there a capped amount of total salary that this policy will cover? I was told that is not the case. I don't fully understand. They haven't sent me the full paperwork of the insurance policy to understand exactly how it does work. But it does not seem to be the case that one guy getting money, that they're going to go, well, I insured this guy, so I'm not going to insure that guy. What I do understand to be the case is that it's a little easier to insure guys making a little bit less money than guys making more money. And that makes total sense. Byron Buxton just isn't making the same kind of money that Lindor is. So maybe you're able to say, if you're the insurance company, okay, I'm willing to take a little bit more of a risk than I would be with Lindor. That's a hypothetical example. But so the amount of money a guy makes should not, it's not like you can only have $300 million and you have to spread that around to a bunch of different people. It's supposedly not capped.
Okay. Well, let's finish with this. Educated prediction. What do you think happens next? So the rosters officially get announced on Thursday. We're 2 days away from that. That was part of why the Puerto Rican team was pissed off, and that's valid. They're like, we're not finding this out until days before, and then we have to try and shove a roster together. We don't have endless players to choose from like USA, and USA also didn't even have to deal with this issue. So how do you think this finishes up? Do you think we continue to get news over the next 48 hours that other players from Team Puerto Rico do get cleared? Edwin Diaz, I thought, had no chance based on the history of something like that. I know it was a freak accident knocking him out.
If I were to guess, yes, that either somehow the insurance that Puerto Rico is pursuing independently, the pressure that MLB and the union, the public response here and PR elements of this My guess is something changes. I gotta believe that the kind of underlying logic that the insurance company has been using and that everybody's agreed to doesn't go out the window. The criteria, as I understand it, is not some sort of secret for any of these federations or teams. The notion that anybody should be so kind of surprised by what is getting ruled out, unless people were really just kind of hiding the ball. As long as everybody was told 60-day IL and surgery could be disqualifying, it's hard to kind of sit there and go, oh, we're so shocked that people are disqualified. Now, is it possible that it really wasn't communicated? Well, maybe. But my guess is that there's some sort of give or change that's made here. Whether it's going to be everything everybody wants, probably not.
Right. And I mean, I think people are getting really specific on socials. My last point here, that you can see Carlos Correa, for example, who has flunked physicals for contracts in the past. But this past season, he played 140 something games. He was only on the IL for a concussion. Bregman misses 7 weeks. Judge had the elbow thing, right? You start to do comps with players and you're just like, why him but not him? It doesn't seem, at least for me, when I was trying to do my own homework, I'm like, if we're just playing off, hey, the 60-day IL or the surgery, he hasn't had either of those things. So now we're going further back. And then if we want to go further back, we can do that for other players too.
There are other, one of the things that came up in this is that there's some injury reports that are not public, that there's some things going on with some guys that show up in what these insurers get to review. And I don't mean this as a defense of the insurance company. I'm just telling you how I understand it to work. That, you don't know about, maybe a guy, about the injury in one arm, but you don't know about the injury in the other arm. And and the insurance company just ultimately has some level of discretion. There's disqualifying criteria that's typically disqualifying, but that's not the only thing they're looking at. And of course, they're never going to make it transparent with medical information. I had multiple people say we knew this problem was coming because of how the policy had changed, got more expensive, and it's too bad. But yeah, people apparently saw that this problem was going to exist, and nobody could get off the train.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully
Just
in the
exhibition.
future they go with my idea. What? Oh, exhibition. Yeah, it's a costly exhibition there. Costly exhibition.
Yeah. Just saying, Evan.
We're not going down that road.
Scott thinks it's more valuable than a World Series game. Just saying.
No,
I'm looking for renter's insurance and car insurance, AJ. So let me know what your prices are.
Yeah, okay. Everything's
I
going
got
up.
I got a guy.
I need your history. I need your past 60. I need a million other things, right? So
I need your mother's maiden name, the last 4 of your social, where your bank account is, your routing number, all that good stuff.
Evan, thanks for helping us decipher this. We were looking forward to this combo and at least getting some positive feedback from people in the chat saying that this was helpful. So we will take that as a win. Appreciate the time, dude.
You got it, guys. See ya.
See ya, Evan and the Athletic. We'll continue the WBC conversation just for a couple minutes here, and then we have a guest joining us, but you can see more coverage from Evan in the Athletic. He's written about this. I'm sure there will be more coming out in the Athletic once we get the roster announcements and all of the final decisions. On that note, it appears as if our favorite closer this WBC, just because we want to see him put the uniform on, will not be participating. Francis Romero saying, unfortunately, Aroldis Chapman will not be playing for Great Britain. He did not qualify. But my question is, why did this news come out initially? Maybe he applied and then he just found out that he didn't qualify. I don't know. This is where I'm starting to get confused here, AJ. Could we have not figured that out sooner? It's like you're either qualified or not. This wasn't even an insurance thing. This was just, no. We want to find out 2 days before and let Aroldis prepare. You want to be the person that calls him and says you're denied 2 days away from roster announcements?
No, they just wanted him to try some tea over in Britain, and they probably flew him over to Big Ben and Parliament and let him walk around a little bit. Hello, Paulpin.
You don't like tea enough.
I don't know. This is weird timing. I mean, the fact that he was announced as the Great Britain team, and now all of a sudden he's not, and Cuba's not in this one. I don't know. Randy Arozarena plays for Mexico. I don't know. I don't know.
I wanted to see him in the jersey. I wanted to see him. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he put the jersey, he didn't qualify. And you know how in Little League, it's like, you know, number 1 through 5 is smalls, 5 through 10 are mediums. Maybe he got up to the number that he wanted and the jersey was just too small for him. If you don't know what we're talking about, jersey mishap, Great Britain, last WBC. Look it up. It's a good laugh watching some letters hang off of Vance Worley's chest.
Yeah, speaking of money issues in the WBC, that would qualify for something that needed to be cleaned up, and I think it will.
Here's the thing. If you're Great Britain, like, it sucks that Chapman can't play, but other than that, if you're Great Britain, right, and you have no really baseball history at all, you're not Puerto Rico, you're not Venezuela, you're not Dominican, you're not Cuba, you're not Japan, you're not all these countries, wouldn't you make your uniforms just outrageously outrageous? Right? Instead of, like, I would, if I was in charge of the Great Britain uniforms, I would have made them the full Union Jack. The hats would have been crazy. Like, they would have been the hats they wear at Westminster Palace, right? Or Buckingham Palace, right? They would have had the whole thing. I mean, I would have made this absolutely epic uniform. Instead, they went the plainest uniforms of all time.
They went to the Temu site, and Temu made their uniforms.
They should have had, like, the fuzzy caps like they wear at Buckingham Palace, right? With, like, the little, where the guy just stands there. They could have had, like, hats like that with the little bill. Or they could have had the what are they, bowler hats, right? I mean, they could have come up with so many cool things to do. Instead, they went as plain as they could. Plainer than any high school in the country has them.
I think there was a budget issue there. I'm hoping that they give them more
you
of an
can go
allowance.
on. There are websites, Scott, that you can go on and you can get uniforms for really cheap. Okay, so budget isn't the issue. It was just more that they didn't have any imagination. I'm sorry.
They forgot. It was a big thing. They forgot.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't understand is, I mean, you have a number of Cuban players who clearly are Cuban and coming from that country and can't play for them. So I kind of get it for Aroldis. It's like, so I can't represent any country? I don't know the inner workings of that, but maybe somebody can give me a better explanation on that one, because it would have been fun to see Aroldis in there, you know? All right, let's get to our next guest, who we can talk to about fashion, but let's talk baseball for a few minutes first. I like that last photo there. New San Francisco Giant Harrison Bader joining us right now. Oh, we need a camera flip. Hold on. Give me if you're vertical, horizontal, or let's see. Stand by.
Like that?
There it is.
Look at you.
That's it. We gotta. Yep. There we go.
Did it.
Harrison, great to have you on. Good to see you. Congratulations on the contract. So give us the goods. How did it all go down? How was the offseason of free agency for you this time around?
Yeah, good to see you guys too. Thanks for having me. Free agency was awesome, man. I think regardless of how long it takes, if you find yourself in a spot with an organization that wants you, that's going to play you, and that they obviously have a great fan base and a great city, I think it's a win all the way around. So I'm extremely excited. My family's thrilled, and I'm just looking forward to getting it all going, man. It's a storied franchise with a lot of superstars around me. So I can't wait to just add everything and anything I can on a daily basis, and get as many wins as possible.
Wait, hold on.
Out there for
Kratz, before you ask your question, I'm being told flip. Stand by.
Flip.
They said
Like
they
that.
had it with you in the green room. Is that it? Hold on. I'm asking them. They're typing.
That's it.
What's that?
That's it. That's the one. All right. There we go.
Now we see his fashion too, with the ripped shirts and stuff.
Yes.
My wife makes me get rid of those shirts when they get like that. I'm sure yours was really expensive, so I get it.
Yeah, they actually the more holes and rips they have in them, the more they actually go up in value. So it's funny how that works out.
It's like wine,
tell you
right?
that.
It means that it's more weather.
Yeah.
So I pay for the same thing. I get it.
Yeah, but people can tell the difference between the ones that are like worn through like wear over the years versus like manufactured. So you have to be careful.
Okay, I won't even test those waters. That's if I had hair like yours, I would test those waters. The only reason my shirts look like that is because I put them on my clip too many times in a row for the seasons that I played. But my question for now we got the full
Now
Like,
we're
this
getting
is
into it. Yeah, we're doing it.
this is. Do you take 2 suitcases? I won't even ask the question I was going to ask. Do you take 2 suitcases on every road trip?
No, I don't. I don't at all.
One?
I know you learn how to pack over the years. Just keep it one. I don't want to, drawing too much time to myself. I'm bringing 2 suitcases.
Okay, but then there's AJ. Now tell me if this is good or bad, because AJ dresses well. He's not like that. Okay, he's not your status. AJ, oh yeah, well he's got the brown noser shirt. But AJ told us the other day he writes down what his outfits are for a road trip because he travels a lot. He does Fox. He travels every continent every year. So he writes them down so that he knows what outfits to wear. Excessive or not excessive?
I mean, I don't think that's excessive. I think AJ can dress however he wants it, or however he wants to dress. I think with that, it's hard because you're always on camera every day, so you're gonna have people that are gonna be outfit tracking you, and you're gonna get blown up about wearing the same outfit, the same suit. So you got to be careful. Whereas I know the schedule of how these guys are gonna like take photos of us, which generally happen like big series, Sunday Night Baseball, Friday night. So like I can easily pick out one outfit that I know I'm going to kind of wear for a camera or whatever. So I don't have to worry too much about it. But if I was on camera every day like you guys, I would probably do something similar.
Listen, you just wear a gray shirt every day. Or I wore a blue one of these yesterday for no good reason other than it looks great with my eyes. And then they said you were coming on. So luckily for me, I had a black one that I could then wear today because
Exactly.
Bader the Gator was coming on. So I had to make sure that I represented 2 days in a row. So people can make fun of me, but one was blue, one is black. Sorry that, they hook me up with some stuff every once in a while.
No, it's all good. And I've also learned too that like the better you play, you could just wear whatever you want. So let's just focus on that.
The reason I can't wear whatever I want. But anyway, I'm done now, so don't need to worry about that. My question was going to be, when you see everybody in free agency going off the board and you're hanging around for a little bit, do you look at some of those guys and go, man, like I was hoping to go there, or, well, they had called and now they didn't. Now they're not going to call back because that seems like a reciprocal move. Do you watch it that closely?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to be involved with every step of this process. It's my livelihood. It's what I'm obsessed with. It's what my family's obsessed with. So, as much as I want answers, I also want to keep them informed. So I always really want to bring them information because as much as my mind might wander, I get to train every day and focus on that. So I kind of get to take my mind off it. Whereas like my parents and my sister and my loved ones, they think a lot. So I remain informed and I just feel like, the big thing with free agency is like letting your market develop. That was something that you just kind of always hear and people always talk about it. And, really understanding what that means kind of requires some information. And a lot of it is asking questions on my end. Like you mentioned, like why guys go a certain way, how much a team has available to spend, what their true needs are, what they're kind of identifying to teams is what they might need to build their roster in the offseason, what they're going to kind of relinquish in salary and what that might free up. So all these little things I just really like to remain involved with. But I think at the end of the day, I think the ball really does take care of you. And you really do ultimately end up where a team kind of needs you. And whatever that looks like, whether it's the beginning of the offseason, the middle of the end, I think ultimately you kind of land where you're supposed to. So a lot of that kind of is based on what the team needs. So I'm just excited for the opportunity that I got. I think I landed in the perfect spot for me, considering what the Giants stated that they kind of wanted and need based off of last season. And I'm just excited to go to work. It's going to be a tall task, but I'm excited to just, chip away at it every single day. It's really all there is to it. It's just every single day, just being my best version of myself on that field. So I'm excited. I landed exactly where I belonged.
Hey, Harrison, why the Giants? What did they tell you? You're giving us all these reasons. Did they say all that to you? Did they promise you starting in center field? Why the Giants? Why do you think it's such a good fit for you in your game?
I mean, I think anything in sports, specifically in baseball, kind of where it's trending in terms of how the game's developed. I really don't believe anything that's promised. You have to prove that thing. You have to prove it every single day. It's something we know in this, on this Zoom right now is in the game. You have to prove it every single day. And they might, say there's an opening, but it's your job as that athlete to prove it every day. So they did mention that they do have a necessity in center field, and they want, a better defensive outfield and everything. So that was mentioned, but you can't take those things for granted. I think the opportunity for me to play as much as possible, which has always been my goal, and I want to play every single day. I think that opportunity was best in San Francisco, and that's really what it's about. Dollar sign and everything involved. You want to be a part of a really, really good clubhouse, and you want to play as many games as possible. You want as many exposure at bats, high leverage at bats, big time situations as possible. So, given that, it really was simple. San Fran was exactly where I wanted to be. I can't wait to, I've been an East Coaster in spring training for 10 spring trainings now, I think. So, San Francisco opens a lot of new opportunities I'm excited to dive into. I get to play in Arizona for spring training. I get to play on the West Coast full time. So all these things, they might seem like challenges or something that, might be difficult, but I view them as the opposite. I view them as just really good opportunities to prove how versatile my game is, how quickly I can adapt. I really just want to captivate an already awesome fan base. I want to show them what I'm made of. I want to bring my game to San Francisco. I want to bring my game to a new lineup. And, anytime you get an opportunity to be around superstars or be in a new city or be with a new manager, I think you should take advantage of it if you have the opportunity. So I certainly did. And like I said many times, I'm thrilled and my family's thrilled. So I can't wait.
I look at trends when I look at stats from guys' seasons and playing against guys. It seems like the better the team's doing or the bigger the moment, you do better. Is there something to do with that? Yankee fans kind of remember a few of the swings that you had when you're in the playoffs with them. You look back at your regular season with them, they're like, oh man, he didn't even show up. Okay, pump the brakes. He wasn't quite healthy, but okay. Phillies last year, you guys were coming down. There's so many times with St. Louis, the years they were good. There's so many times. Is there something to that?
Yeah, I think in those big moments, you really dive into your preparation. You really rely so heavily on your preparation. I think when you're playing for something so much bigger than your own stats, I think I've just kind of found a way, and this is because I've had a lot of really good players around me, especially when I was younger, that I kind of learned from in order to take the pressure off yourself, you have to think about the team. Some of those really good stretches, you mentioned the Cardinals. That 17-game winning streak we had in 17 to sneak into the playoffs, 17 won games in a row. I think it was in 2021 was that stretch. Sorry. The entire time you just learn that you play better if you think about the team and you think about just passing your baton. And passing your baton in a lineup means a lot of things. You can walk, you can get hit by a pitch, you can grind out a 10-pitch at bat. I don't know. We know the countless examples, but I think it just really comes back to just being super prepared for how can I help my team win as much as possible. And it takes all the pressure off yourself. It kind of relieves any, individual duty you might have. And, the glory kind of doesn't come from a big home run in a big situation. It simply comes from just doing your job and being a part of a team win, which once I finally bought into at a younger age, I think, sliding into these new clubhouses and these big moments with new teams that I really don't have a lot of familiarity with, I think I just learned how to turn myself over to the game situation. And a lot of times those game situations require you to be totally selfless and just be a good baseball player for the guy to your left and to your right in your clubhouse. So, I think I'll have a lot of those with the Giants, and I'm looking forward to it.
You couldn't have had a better transition getting traded over the Phillies last year. The fan base loved you. I get it. You didn't get to play in the playoffs like you wanted to because of injury. Was there a time at the end of the season you packed your stuff up, you went home, and you said, most likely I'm going to be back in Philly because of all that happened, all that transpired. I couldn't have done more. It was like you were in a tryout and you just killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I thought that there was a really good chance I'd be back in Philadelphia. But at the same time, I've been around for long enough and heard enough stories from other players who have gone through similar situations, or they've even been with an organization for 6 or 7 years and, it didn't work out the way they wanted to. So I certainly also prepared myself for that in the off chance at the time that it wasn't going to work out. But again, that's what the game is. That's what life is about. Life is about preparing for things and having them go a different direction. And it's about how you can pivot to keep the energy going in the right direction to still manage to be successful. And that's why I've always said, it's always been my dream to be a Major League Baseball player. And, the uniform is obviously nice, but that's a byproduct of the preparation. It's a byproduct of the work. That's why I really learned, I think, at a young age to always just keep my allegiance to the baseball. I keep my allegiance to the work behind the scenes. I always take care of the baseball on the field. I always treat the game nicely. Always talk about the game nicely. Pour your love and your soul into the game. And, if the allegiance to the ball, all these trades that might happen or, being let down by not going to a team you might have wanted to go to, all of them are kind of secondary because at the end of the day, you still get to go out there and suit up in whatever uniform and go out there and play, the game that you love, and you get to entertain fans. And, that's really what it's all about. So as excited as I was to be in Philly and potentially be back, truly, I think I went through a great learning lesson, and that was a great reminder that life always, constantly reminds us, these lessons. So I'm thrilled. I'm excited. And I'm certainly with an organization, and I landed in a place that definitely wants me for an extended period of time, which is something that, I've had now for the first time in my career. So again, I'm thrilled. And I really just can't wait to put those colors on and go out there and compete with a locker room full of superstars. So I'm excited.
All right, Harrison, you were with the Twins last year. What do you make of what's happening in Minnesota? Derek Falvey brought you in. Now he's gone. The Twins fans are up in arms because they switched owners from Joe Pohlad to Tim Pohlad. Forget which one it is, right? But what was your experience like in Minnesota? I played in Minnesota forever ago. It was a great place to come up and a great place to play. So what was it like playing in Minnesota, obviously, before you got traded to Philadelphia?
Yeah, Minnesota was great. It really was. I'll tell you, the playing surface is one of the best I've ever played in, hands down. The batter's box is fantastic. The batter's eye is fantastic. The outfield grass, the shape of the field, the way the sun would play. I mean, all these things. I mean, it was a fantastic playing surface. So, I mean, I loved every second of truly just simply playing the game there. And then listen, outside of that, I mean, what is there to say? It's outside of my control. I was brought there to do one thing, and I was play left field and play center field when Buck needed a day, which I'm thrilled wasn't often because he hasn't been healthy for a long time. And I've always said that Byron Buxton is probably my favorite player in baseball. So being up close with him, being up close with Carlos Correa, I've known Christian Vasquez for a while, so I got to, be with him every day. I mean, it was a fantastic experience. Outside of ownership and moves and trading everybody at the deadline, I don't have anything to do with that. I think it just goes to show you that it's just so important to have your own team behind you at all times, whether that's a hitting coach, whether that's an analytics guy or a biomechanist, whether it's a support system and, loved ones, family members, whatever it is. You just never know how quickly and drastically things might change on that field, whether it's your teammates or, the decision makers, ownership groups, with all the noise that might happen as quickly as a drop of a pin. You have to still have the team behind you to get you prepared for that game. So again, it was a good reminder knowing that my team behind me is solid as they come. I designed it that way because I've been traded for a number of years now where I've been on 1-year deals for, the past 3 seasons. So I realized how important it was to have my people behind me. So listen, I wish everybody luck in their ventures, if they stay in baseball or not. Everybody that I met in Minnesota was fantastic. I mean, everybody says how nice people from Minneapolis are. That is absolutely true. So yeah, I mean, I had a blast, man. It really was, as I say, it was a gift. So, I wish that organization all the best. I wish the ownership group all the best. Still a lot of players there that I played with that I love and respect. So I just want them to ball out and be successful. So yeah.
You were just one of like the whole team that got traded. So it's okay.
11 guys. Crazy.
Yeah, they're all spread out.
Crazy.
They're all spread out all over the league now, and now you're in San Francisco. One of your buddies from way back is Pete Alonso. You guys went to college together, played in college together. You got to play with him then in New York. What were your thoughts on him and his free agency? You mentioned having a team behind you and all the things you were just talking about. But Pete Alonso, setting records in the Mets for home runs. He went to free agency. They signed him to the 1-year deal. Then he gets another free agent shot, and they seemed like there was no interest there. He ends up in Baltimore. What was going on with Pete Alonso? Because he seemed like the perfect guy to fit in to the Mets forever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, his trajectory definitely had his number being hung up there. There's no doubt about it. But again, I mean, I think, there are just countless examples of guys that have gone through the process and they don't get that call back to continue their careers there. So I don't want to speak on his behalf, but in training with him every single day and being around him every single day and just knowing him, again, his focus is just to be the best baseball player he can, and I'm sure he would have loved for it to be with the Mets, given his career path and given the records, like you mentioned, what he's done there and the fans, how much they love him. I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I know the fans love Pete Alonso, but it didn't shake out that way. And knowing his personality, he's one to just put his head down and go to work. So again, it just kind of comes back to the feeling of it feels really good to be wanted by an organization. I thought he got a fantastic deal with the Orioles. I think that's a really strong young team with a fantastic core. A lot of players on that team that I respect. I respect everybody, but some level of talent, those guys just sit at a different table. So he's surrounded by superstars. I know he's excited, and he's going to do damage at that stadium. There's no doubt, just the way the stadium's constructed. So as much as he may have loved to be back with the Mets, the game had a different route for him, and I know he's fully embracing it because we've been training, every single day in preparation for spring training. So I'm excited to see what he does. He still hung on to one of the colors. He still has orange in his uniform, so that's a win. So I'm excited for him. I mean, there's a guy who's, you potentially going to hit 500 plus home runs at the major league level. I think we know how incredible that is. So I'm just looking forward to seeing his journey continue, and I'll see him down the line.
Yeah. Hey, Harrison, can you help us settle a debate here? So I want to ask you one more question about your time with the Mets and with Pete. We debate the measurement of how many gimmicks are okay for a season. The Mets, Carlos Mendoza's on the show all the time, and he's mentioned, a little too corporate in 2025. They were whatever. I don't know what the exact words. I don't want to use, his quotes or misuse them, but we debated, like, I loved it all, right? Iglesias with the song and Grimace, and Pete had his own things running. And you've been around clubhouses like, say, the Yankees, that are a little more straight edge, for lack of a better term. So in your mind, how much can that help, right? And the Mets had many other issues and enough pitching, blah, 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 from 2025. There was a difference from 24 to 25, but just you experienced 24. So can you take us inside what that was like? And if you felt like that truly helped the vibes, and if there's a line for how much you can do that?
I mean, it goes back to that classic thing of, like, as long as it works, it's not weird. Or, I think whatever it takes, whether it's gimmicks, whether it's songs, whether it's a playoff pumpkin, I think whatever it takes is what's necessary, and I think it really just goes back to, like, chemistry can certainly build towards winning championships, and we didn't win a championship the year, but we got really close. And team chemistry, locker room chemistry, clubhouse chemistry is tremendously important. I think front offices do their best to build the biggest, the best high character, positive chemistry clubhouse. And I think a lot of times that'll translate into wins. I think energy is everything on that field. Individually, what you bring to the stadium every day, how you go to sleep at night, and how you communicate with your teammates on the field. I think energy is everything. Chemistry is everything. So specifically in 2024, we had the chemistry going. Yeah, I mean, that was a special year. I mean, I still get messages, and whenever I'm, like, walking around, if there's a Mets fan, I'm getting, the "Oh my God" chant, a couple of years later. And that all started from, the players. And I think when your front office, when your manager gives the players the right and the ability to truly govern their clubhouse and govern the chemistry and protect the energy of the clubhouse and protect the chemistry of it all, I think good things can happen, and, fun things that the fans can engage with. So now it's not only us on the field that are in the energy, but now it's the fans that are living it, in the stadium, and maybe when they go to work that week or they come back, whatever it is. I mean, we were kind of captivating with a lot of stuff we did, which is so much fun. And I think the guys in the clubhouse, the players, are the ones that kind of dictate that, for better or for worse. So it can work both ways, obviously. So that was just a great team. I'm happy to have been a part of it. And I definitely learned a lot about myself and how I fit into a clubhouse as a result of that season. So that really was an invaluable year for me.
Boom, mic drop. Kratz, it's settled. You're not allowed to reply on that one. Harrison gets the
Come up
last
with
word
some
on it.
skits. We need some skits, and
They need to bring
starting in
it back.
Scottsdale.
Yeah, maybe we'll get it in
Starting in
San Francisco.
Scottsdale, you got to have all.
Yeah.
San Francisco, they're gonna love your skit, dude. Come up with all kinds of crazy skits out there, and just see which one sticks every day. Have a contest with like some of the young kids, like make Bryce Aldridge come up with a skit every day, and have the veterans vote on it and see which one sticks. I don't know. Come up with something fun like that.
100%. Yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's just such a great opportunity to be able to get into another clubhouse, man. Like that's what it's about. I mean, is there a version of this ride and this journey where maybe I would have loved to have been a Cardinal my entire career? Like, sure, absolutely. I love St. Louis more than anything. However, the game did not have that in store for me. So you have to pivot and you have to keep it going, because I know, I can make an impact not only in my own game on a team's win, but also a lot of young players. The same way when I was coming up in the Cardinals, guys looked after me. Guys, took me aside. We went to dinner, and they saw I was struggling. They asked me, "Are you okay?" Stuff like that. So it's just so important to just constantly be that positive energy, that vibrating energy that, guys turn to when things get tough, because it's so easy to play this game when everything's going right. It's how quickly can we minimize what's going wrong to get back on track? And I really do try to pride myself on being one of those guys, and it's a team effort. So, I get to do it again in a new clubhouse, and I can't wait to just dive into it all and see how it all shakes out. I mean, it's incredible. So, what a gift, right? What a gift.
Yeah. Hey, we're excited for you, dude.
No way you got that from Sully, by the way. No way you got any of that from Sully, just saying.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Sully. Sully.
But not that
I've learned
positive.
a lot from a lot of people.
Not that positive, like, hey, you guys are good, because I've seen his meetings after games. They're not like, hey, you guys are good. So you definitely
but you know who I got it from. Brad. I get everything. I get everything from Brad. I've said this countless times. I still have Brad's voice in my head in between pitches of at bat sometimes, just to reel me in to get the job done. I mean, I got a lot from Sully, but man, I'm still learning from Brad to this day. So shout out to Brad.
Brad, just real quick, who's Brad?
Brad
for
White.
People that don't know.
Brad Whitesell, smartest guy in baseball.
Hands down, smartest guy in baseball. Was a pro scout for 19 years prior to coming to Florida, I believe it was. And he was just the assistant baseball coach at University of Florida. And everyone who has been around him, AJ knows him. He's just an incredible baseball mind. Just keeps it so simple, just to reel it all in, man. So again, shout out to Brad Whitesell.
There you go.
He's gonna love this one.
Yeah, he's gonna love that. He got a nice minute on a promo cut there. I like it.
He's, by the way, Scott, for people that don't know, he's the scout that drafted and signed me, so that's why he's the smartest guy in baseball.
That's a good connection. I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
So, still talk to him to this day.
I spoke to him a couple days ago.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your UF promo video right there. So enrollment's going through the charts after those 2 minutes. Harrison, you're the man. Thank you for joining us. Always really good to see you. We'll catch you in camp. Some of us will be out there. Congrats on the deal, man.
Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate you guys and how you talk about the game. I watch you guys a lot, and I think everything you guys say is correct. So I watch you guys a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing you.
First person ever say AJ is always correct. We'll take it.
Yeah. See you in Scottsdale.
You guys are on it. You guys are on it.
Thank you. We're working hard and appreciate it. Thanks, Harrison. Good to see you, dude.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
Bye.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Hey, so we just spoke to Harrison Bader, and he's going to get to spend some time with Bruce Bochy. Bochy is back with the Giants. Of course, not managing anymore. Moving on from that. Skip Schumacher taking over the Rangers. Boch was on our new show covering the San Francisco Giants, Splash Hit Territory, and we'll take a little clip from that.
I love the guy. I was behind this move. Believe me, he was so good before he got hurt. We got to keep this guy healthy. He's a really good competitor. He's like a number 1 or 2 when he's on the mound, and he's healthy, throwing well. We had, Evaldi and DeGrom on that staff, and he was throwing as well, if not even a little better than them before his injury. So he's a 4-pitch guy. He's got that riding fastball. He's got great command. He's got a nice split to work with, and he'll mix in the breaking ball and good poise. Just has a way of getting tougher with men on base. Good teammate. A lot of good qualities. Yeah, he made this a better staff when he joined us.
So that's Boch talking about Tyler Mahle, who moves over to San Francisco, and Boch was able to manage him with Texas. And Mahle's definitely went through his fair share of injuries. But the point there, AJ, was that when he's pitching, it's pretty effective innings. If you look at what he did last year when he was on the mound.
Yeah. By the way, it's Skip Schumacher's birthday today, so happy birthday, Skip. Too.
Oh.
Yeah, he is. But the problem was he was never healthy. And that's kind of been his thing, right? When he's right, he's really good. But the problem is he just hasn't been able to stay out there. So let's hope he stays out there and does his thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the name of the game, isn't it? How healthy can you be? And for the Giants, I think they're trying to take that, not a flyer because it's a 1-year deal, but you get an opportunity to bring a guy in who if Boch says something about a pitcher, like this guy's not just some old crusty manager. I've sat in meetings when he talks about guys, evaluating hitters, evaluating pitchers, and he gets it. He still sees it, and he sees what guys can perform and perform at a high level in the big leagues, and he thinks he can, so I'd buy high on him.
We're going to keep talking about the NL West right now. We have been digging to try and find some odds that don't have the win total in the mid-80s, and we've got a special one for you. Leo, hit it.
Under.
BetMGM futures, regular season wins for the Rockies. Well, AJ, you didn't want a mid-80s? How about a low 50s? Recording in progress. The Rockies are wondering if AJ is going to go over or under on their 52.5 wins for 2026. Your thoughts?
This is going to be hard to believe, but I'm going over 52.5 because to lose 100, they'd have to lose 110 games. Like that's White Sox terrible-esque. I think they'll win 57 games. 52. Your Kratz is going under 52 games. They'll win 30 at home just because of the altitude. So I can't go under 52. They would have to lose 110 games, and I don't wish that upon anybody.
They lost 119 last year.
Are they a better team than last year?
I don't know. They're not going to be worse. That's all I'm going to say.
Go ahead, Scott.
I would say they're a better team, just like Scott Harris said the Tigers are better because everybody grows a year older. So then you get a little better. I mean, it is the same concept. They have a lot of young players. They have young talent in the minors. So I would say just by process of baseball results balancing out, experience. they might get to, mid 50s. So for me, I am joining AJ. I'm taking the over. It might not be a crazy over, but I do think it is tough in baseball to assemble a team that is so crazy bad that they're able to get to that mark. So I could see them losing 107. I think it could be close. I think this could be a hook situation, but I'm going to go slightly over, and looks like Kratz has decided that this team is 110 plus loss on the board.
110 plus loss. The fact that routinely, somebody's going to make the All-Star team. If it's not Hunter Goodman and the person is close to ability to be traded, he gone. So, yeah, I'm taking 110. 110 losses.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll place a friendly wager on that one at some point. But for now, let's hype the Super Bowl, too, for BetMGM.
Family just called me.
Yeah. The Boost Pack, 3 ways to spike your odds for the big game, biggest game of the year in football. And they're rolling out the Big Game Boost Pack. So you can boost your odds on the next big game bet. Here's how it works. Log in, and that pack will be waiting for you. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip. Activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with a token activated, you're getting extra winnings on top of your total payout. Some of the pregame and halftime markets that will be available include color of Gatorade bath, length of national anthem, team to win the coin toss, outcome of the coin toss, So even if you're not a huge football fan and you haven't done your homework like me this year, you can have a little fun with some of those pregame and halftime markets. BetMGM, make it legendary. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we have a couple important things to do. It looks like AJ has decided where he is going to shift his rooting interest for Sunday. Biggest Seahawks fan on the planet. Actually, this is a perfect time to tee you up on this one. Before we get to anything else, I'd like to cue up the story about your Chicago White Sox, AJ, installing a bidet for Murakami and making him feel at home. That is a thumbs up from you, 2 thumbs up from me. I'm a huge fan of bidets. This is from your buddy Scott Merkin, who writes for MLB.com. We can't bring him on, but we can read the tweet. He said the White Sox have a new addition for their Rate Field home clubhouse, thanks in part to an important new addition to their home clubhouse, and that is Munetaka Murakami, who recommended the addition of a bidet. AJ, take it away.
I can't wait to go poop in this bidet when I go to do a White Sox game this year. Oh, wait, Fox doesn't have any White Sox games this year, so never mind.
And you're not allowed in the clubhouse.
Also, a great point. I am allowed in the clubhouse. But they're just not allowed to go in the video room because Pedro Griffo didn't think that was a good idea for me to walk in and say hi to the video people. I love this. Listen, I had one request when I built my house, and that was I had to have a Japanese toilet. We had this conversation once when Alana was on. She couldn't believe it. And it was because Koji Uehara had one in the Boston clubhouse, and I tried that thing with the remote control, and you can sit there and play games with it. And so I was like, yes, I'm in on this. So I put one in my house. I still have it. I love it. And when you walk in and like in the morning and you have to use the restroom, the seat pops up and it just goes, ah, and it just welcomes you to your throne, Scott. And so I'm all for it. I'm here for it. These should be standard. These should be standard.
I don't think we could ever be more on the same page on a topic. You and me can be stepbrothers at times. I am so on the same page. And there are varying forms of premium toilets that you can get. So my example is AJ might have something really bougie. Nowadays, they actually make like really nice products you can get online for a few $100. You have to like do a little more work with installing them and everything. But I've got one and it's fantastic. The music might not be as crazy good because we might not have the licensing that AJ's bougie one has, but there are a lot of cool components to it, including the heated seat. So the White Sox are winning this offseason with that move alone. We're talking a lot more about them in positive light than we have in the prior 2 years. So they're doing something right.
Take over 52.5. I'm taking over 52.5 for the White Sox.
That's not what it is. Wait till you see the White Sox number. Ooh, it's going to be such a great day for you and your day.
52.5. And by the way, let me also just say this about if you don't travel and you've never been to Africa and you've never been to Dubai, and we had this argument with producer lady earlier on her production call, they don't have bidets. They have hoses. So you are in there, and if you use that part of your body, they have a hose hanging on the wall. And I've never tried it because I don't know how to hit the right spot with the hose. I'm just saying they just have a hose hanging there with the little squirter.
You sure that's not for like the elephants or something out there?
No, it's literally in Dubai. That. If you haven't been to Dubai is really
Dubai,
nice.
I would say the camels, but I'm saying
if you get Kratz has been to Africa. If you go like to real Africa, like where you're on safari, they have a hole in the ground and they might have a running hose where you can try.
Wow. Don't tempt me to go. Don't tempt me. Kratz, your hat, and then we'll shout out the Philly show, which just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. But, that's fitting for today.
Yeah, we had a regular-sized person, even though he just became a Giant. He's still just regular-sized Harrison Bader. So I had to wear my Giants hat.
Yep. Just your regular-sized New York City kid who's actually getting a nice little career put together here and making some kashish as well. The Philly show, part of the FT network, features Todd Zalecki, Jim Salisbury, and Ruben Amaro Jr. We just want to congratulate them on hitting 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you'd like to give them some love, then all you have to do is give them one click, and it would be really nice for that free content. There was something interesting they brought up on their show today that I will bring up tomorrow. It revolves around a lineup change that I think is interesting. I'll wait until tomorrow, or actually maybe even Thursday, since Alana's going to take over tomorrow and she has her own agenda for you guys, but we will talk. For everyone, the usual 1 to 3 Eastern. I'm back Thursday and Friday. And
Green 18! Green 18!
AJ's going to go hit the bidet. We'll see you later.
Haircut day, Scott. You know what that means.
So thirsty.
Oh, man.